How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk, and today I want to discuss the feeling of obligation that may arise when dealing with a confidential informant, or otherwise known as an inmate snitch. I've done a video on this before, but I want to make sure that I definitely put us in a better position. I want to make sure that we understand the importance of controlling that information and making sure that that inmate doesn't control you. And I was talking to a good friend of mine who really has developed a real good system in how they get the information, but always, even as they get the information, the inmate's aware of who is in control. Because remember, when someone provides you with something, it usually puts us in a feeling of obligation. We want to avoid that. We don't want to be seen as owing the inmate anything. That's why we don't do favors in prison. So when I get back, I'm going to give you some advice that one of the old heads gave me. So stand by for our sponsors, and guys, if you have the shows for you brave men and women that worked up front line, so please interact, engage, comment, share. And don't forget, when you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post up a video. I stand by for our sponsors.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it. It's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Being a corrections officer takes its toll on even the strongest individuals. The constant need to perform at the highest level, putting your life at risk in a hostile environment, and the mental scarring of traumatic experiences. 31% of corrections officers show symptoms of PTSD, and 66% of people with PTSD also suffer with a substance abuse problem. The Transformations First Responders program is specially designed to help veterans and officers heal from the grips of addiction and PTSD in a comfortable, supportive, and serene setting. You are not alone. If you have questions about the services we offer, give us a call at 866-762-8454 to get more information on this affordable and life-changing program.
Thank you guys for listening to my sponsor. So we're talking about obligation in dealing with inmate informants, confidential snitches. I think I said it backwards, right? Ain't it? Confidential informants, inmate snitches. Either way, we know what we're talking about here. And we want to talk about how we don't want to be obligated to them. We don't want to be seen as being dependent. Because remember, guys, we may need the information, and it's good information if it works out, but we're dependent on the information and not so much the inmate that's providing it. We have to make sure that that separation is there. And one way to do that is by making sure the inmate knows that I'm not going to tell you who my sources are, but I'm that person that can find out information. I have ways to maneuver, ways to figure out what's going on, so I don't think you're the only one that talks to me. And that's good, because that makes the inmates, start to really think about the information they give you, because you can always find a way to validate that. So it puts them on their toes, but again, highlight the fact, and this is most important, that yes, you do want the information, but I'm in no way dependent on you or obligated to you. That's just not going to happen. So it's good to have multiple routes that you can get information from, because then the inmate will not see themselves as a sole source and try to promote some form of dependency between you and him. On another note, you also want to establish that control right at the beginning. That control that you're going to have with any potential source. Now, I covered a lot of this in another video I did, but there's something else I want to mention today. So, in regards to this topic, I'm thinking of just maybe being someone that's running a gang unit. So when you're running a gang unit, when you're the investigative authority, you are going to be in need of information. A lot of stuff going on when it comes to gangs, find out who they are, what they're doing, who plays what role, aliases, just a bunch of stuff. And a lot of the stuff that we do, guys, I know the public doesn't realize, can connect to the streets. So the work that's provided behind that wall is needed. It does save lives. And it does hold people responsible for their actions. So we find ourselves in need for information. So inmates see that, and the more desperate we come across, they may start giving us fake information, or they may start saying, okay, I'll give you this, but you got to give me this, and we don't want that. We don't want that because they're giving us something first, and now that makes us feel obligated to them. That sense of obligation. So what we want to do is, in order to establish control, maybe if we present something first to them, now they start to feel obligated to us. But how we play that obligation is a little bit different than how the inmates would play it. And again, in doing so this way, and doing it this way first, with that obligation becomes a sense of dependency from that inmate to us. And that is key. That is where we have established control, because we're making sure that we're not obligated to the inmate, that we're not dependent on the inmate, but that the inmate is obligated to us, that the inmate's dependent on us. So, when you do the gang unit, a lot of the times when a new inmate comes into the facility, that's a good time to establish a working professional relationship with that inmate, because it's new grounds for the inmate. The inmate's still got to figure out how to maneuver. So you want to jump on that intake right off the bat and make sure you introduce yourself to the inmate first before they can get misled by the other inmates, which could eventually happen, but first impressions can be very powerful. And you want to set up what you're about, the rules, what you expect from them. So in this case here, what it was I would actually sell certain units to an inmate, as if this being the better unit. If you want to avoid the bullshit here, this is the unit you want to be a part of. This is the unit you would want to be. I would just sell it. And it would be the better unit. I'd be good with my word. It'd be a unit that the inmate would want. And now, mind you, this is right on intake. So, I would give the inmate the taste of the better unit. And obviously making sure that they're doing things correctly. If you're going to be an asshole and I put you in this good unit, I'll ship you right out. Not tolerating that. But having said that, let's say you're doing things correctly. The inmate's doing what they're supposed to do. Maybe in a couple of days you check on them, see what's going on. Maybe a week or so. And they like that unit. That's when you pull the inmate aside and say, how's everything going in there? Good? Good. You like the unit? Good. Well, now it may be a good time to start trying to get information from the inmate. Because the inmate's now in a position of dependence on you because they like that unit. Now they're obligated to you because you stepped up first with something that they may now want. And that puts them in obligation. That makes them dependent, because at any moment you don't give me what I want, I have no use for you here. See you later. But you see how that was established immediately? Where it wasn't the inmate came up to you because you were desperate for information and now you owe them. This inmate is in a position to owe you. That's why we have to give some discretion to those who handle intel areas, like a gang unit, as we just mentioned. We want to give them some discretion because they need to be in a position of power for that information. You don't want to just tell an officer, hey, go get me that information, I need it. Then the officer's all desperate to try to get the information. No, these should be relationships that are established prior with a sense of control given to that officer. And I think right off the bat, again, I'm just talking in generalities. Maybe there's a way you guys do that are different. But even just a unit that the inmate starts to get accustomed to. And the moment you can take that away, you got to realize something. The biggest motivating factor for inmates is the gain versus loss. People are more motivated by a loss than a gain. Remember that. So if they get accustomed to something, as I said, giving them a week in that housing unit, they start to like it and they get accustomed to it, you taking it away could be a great motivating factor for them to give you that information. But again, they're obligated to you, and now, because you have the power to take them out of that unit, they are dependent on you. And they're also going to know that you're not their only source of information, that you can get information from anywhere. So they don't need to know where you're getting it from, but they need to know that you can get information from anywhere. So now, if they go to test you and give you wrong information, they better think twice about it. They better think twice about it, because you have ways of finding out the truth. And just like the person may be giving you information on other people, he needs to know that you're also getting information on him or her. As always, it's always a great conversation. Thought it was interesting. Good topic. And as always, guys, the show's Tear Talk for you brave men and women that work that front line. So please interact, engage, comment, hit that bell when you subscribe so you get notification every time I post up a video. And as always, guys, stay safe.